You know, it's been 5 years since an American was detained in North Korea. Until now, that American soldier crossing over in an apparent defection. He was facing military discipline action here at home and somehow slipped out of the Army's hands. The military saying Private Travis King had just been released from a South Korean prison, held on assault charges before his flight to Fort Bliss in Texas to face the consequences. But King somehow managed to leave the airport, getting into a tour of a Korean border village in the demilitarized zone and crossing into North Korea. We're joined now by Stephen Groves, the Margaret Thatcher Fellow at the Heritage Foundation, who served as Chief of Staff to the UN Ambassador Nikki Haley in 2017. Quite a resume there. Stephen, we want to get your expertise in terms of why would the Defense Department even try to work to get him back? I mean, clearly, he just decided to make a, I'll just say it, dumb move and cross into a country that may torture him, may imprison him for years.
Yeah, you would think that that he's not our best and brightest that we have over there, but he's still an American. He still has a mother here in the U.S. who is asking for his return. And as dumb as that stunt is that he pulled, President Biden and our government should still be taking actions to bring him back to the U.S. You know, as you alluded to, U.S. Prisoners often don't fare well over in North Korea, including the terrible story of Otto Warmbier, who was comatose and died after returning to the U.S. So efforts need to be made to bring this soldier back, as wrong-headed as his defection attempt was.
Well, and clearly you feel for his mother, you feel for his entire family. When you see something like this, you're thinking either something's not right in your head, or there's more to this story than we know about. So he's facing assault charges. Is there any possibility that the military would be questioned for his treatment, for him to be so desperate to get out of American custody? Is there some investigation into what the military did leading up to that arrest or those charges?
Well, there doesn't seem to be any indication of him being mistreated by the military. He was in a South Korean jail for committing an assault crime and kicking a South Korean police car, had been released for return to the U.S. to face disciplinary charges once he arrived here. There's no indication that he was mistreated in the interim. I think he just decided that he was going to pull this stunt, did not want to face additional discipline, probably the end of his military career, if you can call it that. He's only a private second class, which by any stretch is a very, very low grade in the military. So I think he just had a very troubled moment and decided to cross the border and pull a stunt and see where it got him.
Or he's mentally disturbed.
Yes.
He reportedly laughed as he crossed over into the demilitarized zone. I don't know if he was laughing while he was on the tour, laughing while he was being taken into custody. This has happened before, but I'm sure that the conversation is going to be going around in Washington as to how much information he had, whether there was any a spy capability available, or what information he would give to Pyongyang as a result of crossing over to their country.
Well, fortunately for national security purposes, as I mentioned, this is a very low-level soldier, not even a private first class.
So was Jack Teixeira.
And so was Sergeant Bo Bergdahl, and so were other people. It's just unlikely that there'd be a lot of access to classified information in this particular individual, or that he would know anything so specific about U.S. or Korean defenses on the DMZ that the North Koreans don't already know about it. That doesn't mean that he won't be a high propaganda value for Kim Jong-un. He's still going to make the most of this, the North Korean dictator, and exact some type of diplomatic price out of the United States for the return of Travis King.
Stephen Groves, for his mother's sake, I certainly hope that he survives this. Thank you very much for being with us. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.